Hello, today what I'm going to be doing is a what is it on all the parts of bows and arrows and all the jargon that archers use to do with equipment in archery, although I won't be doing anything on stuff that's modern because I don't do modern archery whatsoever. And I don't recommend it to anyone unless you're actually learning, you know, practicing or something. But in any sort of competition, it's nigh on shameful. No offence to anyone who does it. Now, basically, yeah, I'm going to be demonstrating, well, teaching today with my American flat bow, which I've got here. It's not a long bow, excuse me, despite the fact that it is rather long, because I've got it sat on the ground. It's almost as tall as I am, and I'm not exactly that much smaller than 6 foot, about 5'7". Okay, that's a bit short, quite a bit shorter, but you get the point. I'm an average sized person, or slightly shorter. But point being, although it is quite a long bow, it is not called the long bow because it's not quite the same. It's not quite as long, in fact. Part of the bow basically are this. There is the nocks, as in the string nocks, where the string goes, which of course there's one on each end. Here, this is the lower limb, because this is the handle just here. They flip it the right way up. This is the upper limb. Obviously you can imagine why they're called that. Bit in the middle where the handle is often called the riser, which is basically this section here, where the handle is. And it's ergonomic design. Now obviously there's the string itself, simple, but here you'll see where a string gets slightly thicker. This is called the serving. Basically it's to protect the string from wear and tear and whatnot, and it helps it to last longer. And here, these little bits here are called knocking rings. This is basically where the arrow goes and where the arrow knocks into. And I'll explain that bit later. In this part here, on the side of the bow, it's called the arrow rest. This is where the arrow goes, basically. On things like long bows, and perhaps some Mongolian bows and things, you don't have arrow rests. But on bows like this American flat bow, and always on modern bows, compounds or recurves, they always have arrow rests, and sometimes high-tech arrow rests, which, you know, all made to reduce the amount of effort in the sport of archery. Nigh on pathetic. Now, on parts of an arrow, obviously, there's a wooden part. There's on the arrow itself. There's the wooden part, the sort of rod, which is just called the shaft. And here, the head. Although some archers will use some more archery jargon words, and they'll call it the pile, but it's basically exactly the same thing. It's the head of the arrow, or the pile of the arrow. Here, where the arrow goes into the string, it's called the nock. Don't confuse it with the string nocks on the bow. Basically, you know, slits where things go in. Don't turn that into a dirty joke or anything, please. Basically, yeah, that's where the arrow goes into the string. Just below it, or above it, is the fletchings, which are basically these feathers here, which help to straighten the arrow in flight. As you've probably noticed, they've got different colours on. It's 2 hens and a cock, sort of, for all. Another joke. Basically, these hen feathers here, a part where it goes across the bow, nice and smoothly. These are parts that would face inwards. The cock feather is the fletching that sticks away from the bow, because if it was going across the bow, it'd be trying to push off of it, or even the bow just slice the fletching off. and you'd have to put it back on with some super glue or fletching glue, which actually does work better than super glue. So yeah, those are parts of an arrow. Now you've gone over bows and arrows. Another thing is, of course, archery accessories. There is the bracer, which is basically to protect your arm from the string as it flings back, because you can, as you can imagine, especially on stronger bows, the string will be whipping your arm, and if you didn't have one of these on, it'd hurt a lot. But because of this, although you'll still feel a bit of a whip, the fact is it is significantly reduced. And of course you might want a bit of padding or whatever underneath just to reduce it even more, but something like it, I don't know what else that's going off that, something like your, you know, your sleeve of your shirt or jumper even will do perfectly fine. Or if you're an American, what I mean by a jumper is a sweater, by the way. Now, this is basically a quiver, but you'll notice it doesn't quite look like the ones on Robin Hood. Got all nice pockets and things for keeping pens, whistles, score sheets, snacks, and whatever else. As long as it'll fit, basically, which is rather handy. And of course there's bits for the arrows to go in. But basically, it's not a back quiver, it's a side quiver. This bit here is basically where your belt slides through. You tie it to your waist, so basically it goes on your side, like so, rather than on your back. Back quivers, well, you've probably seen them already, are quite different. But basically, that is all the terminologies in the actual equipment and items in archery, besides modern equipment, which I'm not going to go through. Thank you for watching.